simplest thing you can do as a leader is just ask people, what does innovation mean to you? And it opens so many doors, and you're not going to be trying to, why don't they get that I want you to do this? Because they don't know what that is meaning to you, and you don't know what innovation means to them. And what I love about that whole concept is you can apply it to anything. What does customer service mean to you? What does collaboration mean to you?
Welcome to Season 5 of the podcast, Manage Self, Lead Others with host Nina Sunday. This season, we go deeper into innovation, creativity, AI, and the invisible patterns shaping workplace culture. The future of leadership starts with the questions we ask. Join us to explore how to lead with emotional intelligence to elevate team culture and stay future ready.
Innovation does not have to be complicated. Nils Vesk makes it easy. Author of The Reinvention Spirit, the fast-track method to rethink and rebuild business, Nils Vesk is founder of the innovation agency Ideas with Legs. Based in Australia, but with clients around the globe, Fortune 500 companies and startups turn to Nils Vesk to share his innovation techniques to formulate insights, ideas, products with minimal cost and with minimal risk. His other books include Ideas with Legs, Innovation Archetypes, and Life's Little Toolbox. Welcome, Nils Vesk, a repeat visit to Manage Self, Lead Others. I'm so excited. What's been happening in the last 5 years?
Wow. Well, thank you for having us on the show, Nina. It's always a pleasure to catch up with the brilliant mind that you have. I've been doing lots of things with my clients around the world. And I think something that's been really interesting is moving from pure innovation back a little bit into creativity. And part of that is because of the world of AI. Yes. And we know that AI is amazing. It can do so many things. But one of the things that I think people are on the fear of missing out on, or fear of being left behind,
yes,
is that it's the creativity that you need to have as the engine. So what creative question are you going to ask? What creative ways can you use AI? So we found in the last 2 to 3 years, there's been this shift from, people realizing that, well, we want to come up with a new product and we're going to have to do it this traditional way. Now it's like, well, with AI, we can do it that way. How can we be creative with our thinking to be the brains behind the AI that enables us to get more stuff done, to get a better result or a better product or the sort. So that's kind of something that's been quite exciting, which gets you back to the real pure heart of innovation is creative thinking.
And also really at ground level, it's managers and leaders making sure that there's no laggards saying, oh, I don't want to use AI, I don't trust it, or I don't know how to use it. We've got to actually move people forward so they are actually using it as a regular tool. Isn't that right?
Yeah, definitely. And whenever there's change, there's always going to be pushback. There's fear. I mean, it's really interesting. If you look back to the invention of the calculator, the number of engineers that said this is going to be the death of the human brain as we know it, and every technological leap, there's always going to be pushback. And yet, once you have the right conversation, if you can create the right story as to why it's important, and then give them some simple skills and activities that they can do, then that fear disappears and they actually go from a protester into someone who's an advocate for using AI or whatever that behavioural change might be. And that kind of opens up the door to a whole behavioural change. How do you get someone to have a behavioural change, whether it's for someone to be more innovative, whether it's for someone to be more creative or to have better customer service? You always need a few different things. You need to have the want to, the chance to, and the how to, if that makes sense. So the want to is the motivation, the drive, the inspiration. So that comes around having great stories, or if we want to be fancy about it, we could call it a narrative. So what is that
Yes.
organizational narrative as to why this behavior that we're looking for is important? Then we need to have the chance to. So that's the permission, the space, the resources, the time. And then we have what we would need the how to. So that is, we need to give them some skill training, at least on a fundamental level, so that they know how to do those different things there. So if you can nail those three things, then it just basically will happen. If you've only got two of them, it's not going to work out. You need to have all three. Imagine if you're a leader now and you've got a team of people and you're thinking, how can we apply innovation? The first thing we need to be mindful of is, what does innovation mean? A good way to think about innovation is we have process innovation, we have product innovation, or we have service innovation. And that is to come up with a better way, a cheaper way, a way that does it more effectively, something that grabs mind share. It's something that lasts longer, whatever it might be, more durable, all those types of things there. And what we found originally in our, I guess, background of running innovation programs is we would think that, okay, if you want to be innovative, you've got to be good at coming up with ideas. And I'm a designer by background, so I was kind of recognized for pioneering design thinking in Australia way back in, the early 90s or something like that. And yet it would be easy for me to say that innovators are designers. Innovation has 4 different phases. We have the insight phase,
Yes.
which is looking for what could be a customer problem or a pain point. It could be a new emerging trend that hasn't been capitalized on. It could be an unmet need, or it might be a customer desire. So those are the sort of core components of looking at an insight. And then what we've got is then we have the ideation phase, which is about generating lots and lots of different ideas.
That's right. Good ideas come from lots of ideas.
Exactly. And then we have the iteration phase, which is about testing, validating, and prototyping. And then we have the execution phase, which is about marketing and building it and getting it out the door. And what we found when we started to research and looking at how do we get more innovative, and myself personally, when I went on this journey, started off back in before the year 2000, and I realized, just because I'm a designer doesn't mean that's the only way. And I found you know what? There are some great people at coming up with insights. And who are those people? Quite often they're behavioralists. And if you think, okay, so behavioralists might be, if you're looking at an example, might be a guy called Dan Ariely, who's a behavioral economist. And one of the things he was really good at doing, or any kind of behavioralists are really good at observing and watching what people are doing. So they're really good at generating one sort of area of insights. On the other side, you can imagine someone like a data scientist can be just as powerful at generating insights, looking at the data. And then in the middle, you've actually got the futurists who are looking at what's that next emerging trend. So what we found is that probably in terms of generating insights as to where we should innovate, those 3 professionals have some of the best principles that we can borrow. So say, for example, from a behavioralist, might be looking at, what are some of the ways that we can look for behaviors, and how do we identify it and use that for an opportunity? Where are people complaining? Where do they come up with the most problems? Where do they put in the most number of calls for help? That type of stuff.
Yes, it's not just accepting that we're customer service and we just have to deal with it. How can you sort of head them off at the pass by changing processes or inside mindset or even your team's behaviour too?
Exactly. So when we're thinking of our team, we go, okay, how could we think like a futurist? So we go, let's do a scenario plan and look at some emerging trends that are going to affect us in the next 12 or 24 months.
Right.
And based on those emerging trends, what would be our contingency plan or our alternative scenarios, and how would we react to that? So that's a good way of borrowing the principles from futurists. That's the insight phase. Another thing that a leader should be considering is, what could we borrow from professionals that are really good at generating ideas?
So to what extent do companies silo their innovation processes into that team does innovation and other teams just work on the product or the service? So do you see that we need to make it more embedded into the wider organization?
If you're a leader and you're a
Yes.
manager and you want people to innovate, you've got to think about what are those behaviors for innovation, because innovation is not really a behavior, it's a trait. And we often make this mistake where clients will come to me and say, Nils, we want our people to be more innovative. I said, really? But innovation is not a behavior. It's a
That's right.
sum of behaviors that enable
That's
them to
right.
do that. So one of the things that we do is we've got a list, I think if it's about 67, what we call observable, measurable, specific behaviors that
Yes.
lead to innovation. So does that make sense? So if we come back to this concept of crossing a silo, a collaboration or a collaborative behavior that will lead to innovation is each month we invite 3 people from different teams or business units to come to talk about our current project or our challenge or our customer in order to come up with new ideas. That's an observable, measurable, specific behavior that will lead to innovation. And the challenge that we have in business is that we forget that behaviors are what drive our results. So if you want your team to be more innovative, you've got to think, well, what behaviors do I want? Is it to do problem hunting to find, complaints? Is it to generate lots of ideas? Is it to adapt ideas from outside of our industry? Is it to run forums with our customers to see what they're thinking of? Is it to run conceptual validation so that we can validate things? It's about identifying those things. And then when you have a list like that, and this is relevant to any kind of behavioral change, then you can say, okay, guys, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for instances where we find complaints or problems that we've just been ignoring that actually could be a great opportunity for us to insight or to generate ideas around. We want you to look at inviting other people from our different business units to share their thoughts about what we're doing and what we're not doing or what we should be doing. We'd love you to invite every now and then customers in to give us honest, transparent feedback about what they like and what they don't like about what we're doing and those things. So that gives us a really, really simple way of going, yep, this is what we want. And then our team members now go, oh, yeah, okay. I never knew that that's what they wanted, because innovation means different things to different people. Does that kind of make sense?
What I'm thinking here, Niels, is there's such a grey area, or a continuum, if you like. There's continuous improvement, that plus 1% on a regular basis, versus innovation, which can completely revise how you do things.
It comes down to what your definition of innovation is. For me, I mean, if you can come up with a little macro on Excel that saves you, 30 minutes, that's an innovation. There's a commercial response to it. There's a commercial gain. If it's something that makes the team feel better or energizes them, and that's a commercial gain, I would say that that's innovation. So when we've run innovation summits, we always call it the commercial innovation summit. So,
Yes.
like we could come up with an idea for a new coffee machine in our team. It might inspire us a bit more, but is it really going to have a commercial impact? Probably not. You could
Right.
say, so Nina, what does innovation mean to you? Oh, well, innovation means X, Y, and Z. And you go, okay. And then okay, so for me, Nina, innovation means blah, 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 blah. And when we have these conversations, then there's no longer this animosity or confusion, or we're trying to read minds as to what innovation
Yeah.
means, because we're on the one table. We're on the one space where we're using the same conversation around it. So simplest thing you can do as a leader is just ask people, what does innovation mean to you? And it opens so many doors, and you're not going to be trying to, why don't they get that I want you to do this? Because they don't know what that is meaning to you, and you don't know what innovation means to them. And what I love about that whole concept is you can apply it to anything. What does customer service mean to you? What does collaboration mean to you? It's just such
Yes.
a powerful technique. Yeah.
And what's interesting is I'm thinking that, in my observation, most teams, when they have their regular meetings, virtual or in person, they're always, the agenda seems to be all about the business and specific problems, and not taking even 5 minutes on a regular basis to ask these overarching philosophical problems that actually do lead to specific and tangible results. What do you think?
I think that's hit the nail on the head. And what I really stood out for me when you were sharing then, Nina, was the words 5 minutes.
Yeah.
There is a myth that innovation needs to take months, if not years, to go from A to B. And yet, and we found through over 2 decades, 30,000 students, that you can generate, so for example, 80% of your most effective ideas in the first 5 minutes. So, provided you've got a couple of things in place, rules and some prompts and stuff like that. So, my question is, why spend hours and hours innovating when you only need 5 minutes? And so, from a behavioral perspective, if we want to make innovation a habit, what we need to do is to look at an anchor and then anchor that behavior to it. So, I always say, after we do our Friday morning town hall, we will spend 5 minutes identifying pain points that our customers have got. Bang, then you've got
Perfect.
5 minutes of insight generation every week. Or it might be after I put down the phone with a client, I will spend 5 minutes generating ideas of how we could make that customer experience better. Like that's all it is. And yeah, rather than, give yourself, what's that adage? Give yourself an inch, you'll take a mile. Make it short. Use those
Yeah.
constraints and the ideas come.
One of the areas I want to cover, Nils, is psychological safety, in that a lot of people hold back for fear of their ideas being laughed at, judged, dismissed, being belittled. And how do you create a team where there isn't this kind of snicker or snide remark even after the meeting's over, and so that otherwise people will clam up and not even offer ideas?
Yeah, yeah, such a important part. We have a rule whenever we run a workshop, and we'll have a poster up on the wall that says rules. One of them is no slanging of ideas. And we really frame that just as you've sort of said, like the quickest way to smother innovation is to laugh at someone's idea or to snigger. And part of the way of overcoming that is one to say there is a consequence, identifying that there's a consequence and have a penalty. Like we put money on the table. So everyone, if anyone is caught belittling, laughing, or joking at someone's ideas, it's like a $5 note. We call them over here in Australia, we call them a $5 prawn. Is that? I think there's like a raw prawn. Yeah, just to the color of the note. But yeah, you'll put like a $5 note down. So that's kind of one of the things that we can do. And the other part is having the story around the conversation as to why belittling some ideas will stop it. I think what's really important for people to realize is that you need quantity versus quality to start with. So you need lots and lots of ideas, and you're not going to get those good ideas until you've got the lame ideas out. I often think of a Confucian
Yes.
plumber. I don't know if they existed, but I would say the bowl needs to be emptied before it can be filled again. And so a really, really cool technique that we use with our clients is called an idea muscle technique. And first thing in the morning, or whenever they get to work, or whenever they feel they've got the moment, is they go 20 ideas to, and then
Yes.
they insert the blank. So it might be 20 ideas to create a stronger connection with my customers, or it could be 20 ideas to save money in this product. It could be 20 ideas to create new partnerships, 20 ideas to what. And the fact that you're going for 20 at first is like, ooh, a bit intimidating, but you'll go one, two, three. They're usually like everyone else's ideas. Oh God, four, five, six, getting hard, seven. And it's around 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 where the gold really happens. And I have this kind of counterintuitive technique, which is if you find it hard to come up with 5 ideas, go for 20 ideas. If you find it hard coming up for 20 ideas, go for 30 ideas or 40 ideas.
I've been doing the 20 ideas method for at least 30 years, and this is
Good.
what I've come down to. You get the first lame ideas out on the table early. I've done it with teams, but mostly it's quicker if I just do it myself.
Yeah.
When I went for 20 with a team, it took 2 hours. I went, oh, I think I'll go for 10 next time. But anyway, But for myself, I'll do the 20. And I noticed, and I attended a workshop from a PhD student on creativity once. And he said, all good ideas are preceded by a mental blank. And so what I would find is I'd get the first 10 to 12 ideas fairly quickly, and then I would be stumped. That's the mental blank. And he said, what you do, you stick with it, because then what happens, a shift happens in the brain. You open up another area of the brain and you'll get a second wind of ideas. And I have found that I'll even get to idea 22 and 23 and go, it's idea 23. That's the one that's the best idea. But I stuck with it and went through the mental blank process. So that's a tip for most people.
Exactly. And it's also strengthening your neuroplasticity, your ability to think on your feet. And if you were to go, who are the most innovative or creative people?
Well, this is all fascinating, Nils, and you've really opened my eyes to a few new points. So tell us, how can anybody work with you?
Yeah. So usually when a client reaches out, we try and work out, what are they looking for? Is it, do they want me to speak at a conference? Do they want a workshop? Do they want a 12-month program? But we do all of those things. We have some clients that have purchased our books for their team and they found like that's a good start. And then they come in and say, can you do a keynote as well? Others say, hey, we want to go to that next level. We want to increase our output by percentage. What can we do? And do that type of stuff there. So that's kind of what I do.
Well, it's been a fascinating conversation, Nils, and it's all part of our innovation series on Manage Self, Lead Others. And I really appreciate your time today. And go forth and spread wonderful ideas and help make the world creative, Nils. I really, really applaud your efforts.
Thanks for having us on the show. And thanks for having us, everyone who's listening today.
My guest today was the wonderful Nils Vesk, repeat episode. He came on the show 5 years ago and I'm excited to invite him back, full of wonderful ideas. I hope you've got some actionable takeaways. My name is Nina Sunday. I'm host of the Manage Self, Lead Others podcast, and wonderful news, 1 million podcasts, this entity have positioned Manage Self, Lead Others podcast in the top 10 leadership development podcasts around the world. And we're also, according to Listen Notes, in the top 5% globally of all podcasts. So we're really getting lots of listeners, but do tell somebody about it, because the more that people know about it, the more we can continue to share ideas and contribute to a better world. And go to my Substack channel, ninasunday.substack.com. And there you'll find behind-the-scenes conversations about the episodes that we have on Manage Self, Lead Others. And of course, my book is now published on Amazon of the same title, Manage Self, Lead Others. It's in Kindle and in paperback. And until next time, bye for now.
Manage Self, Lead Others has launched the book. It's available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle. Not just a collection of transcripts, Nina Sunday adds her own reflections about each guest conversation. Plus, you might like to join Nina on her Substack channel, ninasunday.substack.com, for candid, behind-the-scenes conversations with two sharp AI hosts who riff, question, and bounce around ideas sparked by the published podcast episode. And if you're looking for a conference speaker or workshop facilitator who can up-level your team in Australia or around the world, visit brainpowertraining.com.au or ninasunday.com. Until you tune in next time.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.